Even in English. I hope it is. Maybe she'll just. What's that? Okay. Interesting.
My mom said hello.
Hello. How's it going out there?
He said, how's it going out there?
Which city?
We're in Michigan, Westland, Michigan.
I bet it's about to get cold.
It's already cold. It's like how it is out here.
I love the snow, so I'm jealous, but most people hate the snow. Oh yeah, they're on the border of Canada. So they got international social work. Let's see. So let's say international social worker is responsible for assisting communities and individuals across the globe, regardless of international borders. They focus their efforts on whatever task is deemed to be critical in order to achieve the goals set forth by various international organizations. Right now, food security is a big issue. There's like droughts and famines in Africa. Here's what they do. So they provide resources, counseling, or education, and other forms of assistance to combat certain international issues such as child labor, gender inequality, environmentally harmful development, poverty, wars, and natural disasters. So starting your paper with like that and the definition, they have their own website. So you can go to the website and quote them and put them in your citations. And then do like the local National Association of Social Work, which we have a conference next month here. That's like actually the Ohio Association of Social Workers. And they both have their websites, so you can quote what they say about themselves, like their mission statement, and describe their organization, whatever their mission may be. Social work has a very broad mission, so you likely will be able to, say all the different areas they help. And then do a search on jobs. So you want to do a search on something here or your hometown or Michigan or Canada, which would be starting to become international social work, and then even Mexico and Latin America. And if you want to go further, like Russia and China, what do social workers do? See how much they pay. That's always interesting. Yeah.
So we're talking about the national social work. Okay. So when you said like going to Canada or something like that, we can put that in there about like national.
Well, yeah, like what do social workers do in Canada?
Okay.
Which you'll find. We were looking at this website because they have all of it. It's the IFSW, and they'll tell you there's hundreds of articles. So there's like 500 articles on the international social workers. There was the other video. So this is another one. If it's in English, all right, that one might be only a musical. So we're going to skip to this one.
Hola, mi nombre es Silvana Martínez. Soy la presidenta mundial de la Federación.
That one might not be in English either, which would be hard for us unless are either of you good in Spanish? I could try to translate for you, but it's tough. All right, and we'll skip to, well, yeah, here's another welcome message about their whole conference. So this might help too. We're going to sell you some hair products now today too. Oh no, this is going to be in Spanish, isn't it? Okay.
Executive, 141 National Association leaders, and partner organizations. We want to invite all social workers and people interested in social development to participate in this year's Global Social Work Online Conference, titled the 2020 to 2030 Social Work Global Agenda, Co-Building Social Transformation.
Did he say tweet or did he say 20? It sounded like he said the Tweety to Tweety 30, but I think he was saying 2020 to 2030.
This online conference will be free for participants. Never before has a social work profession had the opportunity to bring everyone together without cost and without travel visa requirements. We are confident true to our values of inclusion, diversity, and full participation. Our joint task in this conference is to explore and develop strategies that will heighten the impact of social.
So that guy's a little boring too. I'm going to see if we can find another one about World Social Work Day, but it might be in a different language. Are you guys taking different languages?
No.
I don't think you have to be a social worker anymore. The trick is go be a social worker in India. They all speak English. Yeah, it's 600 million English speakers in India, so it's the largest English-speaking country in the world. There's twice the population of us, but that's only half the population of India. So half speak English and the other half speak Hindi. I think it's like Hindi and stuff.
So when you want to do like international, do you have to take like a language?
No, you don't, but it definitely helps. A lot of times when you get there, you'll start learning it or you'll take a class to learn it. So it's up to you. And if you did it in Canada, they speak English. I think in England, they speak English. In India, they speak English. Probably a lot of the Caribbean, they're speaking English. So you don't have to. It helps, though, because they won't look at us as like gringo Americans that don't want to learn their language at all.
So socially, do you have like, is there like a section where like you have to do math?
When you do research, they always involve statistics. But
I'm not good at it.
yeah, you'll be okay though. They usually recognize that and they pull us through. When I was in my doctoral program, we had 7 classes on statistics total. But they put you in groups and help you to understand, because whether or not you guys believe it, you're using math already today anyway. When you're buying something, you find the cheapest price. When you budget how much money you have left, you know how to budget, or if you don't, you'll learn fast because you'll run out of money and then you'll budget. So you'll like learn it and you'll be okay. It seems scary, but it's not.
Yeah, that's my bad subject is math. I really want to go into a field that has nothing to do with math.
Right.
I'm gonna go for nursing.
Nursing probably has a lot of math because you got to measure the medications.
Yeah. And I was already in like a nursing program, so
Yes.
imagine just doing math 24/7, and I hate math. Yeah, it's like fractions, and I'm not good at fractions at all. I hate fractions. So it's like fractions, it's like decimal and stuff like that. Like y'all learn, it's like basic math, and then it goes up. Wow, I'm so happy I didn't go through that.
Yeah, nursing does have a lot of math for sure. I wonder when this conference was, because if it was free to everybody.
I thought they said it was like you had to go out there, but I was the one on top. She was talking about Ohio.
Oh, the NASW Ohio one is in person probably. I don't know though. They're all changing because of coronavirus. Everybody's getting COVID, so they're freaking out. But
Everybody gets COVID like every day.
right, we'll probably all get it, but then you get the natural immunity after that. You know what I mean? So let's see. All right, if they're in English, this might help you because it's only 3 minutes. Oh, that's the theme.
It's part of us.
Ubuntu.
We are human only through the humanity of others. I am because we are.
Is that a word from a different country?
I don't even know where that's
I feel like it would be African, but I might be incorrect. So I'll just shut up until they tell us. That's a lot of, it looks African, but let's see if they tell us different. Oh, those are all the languages you can learn. If you want to learn a foreign language to be a social worker, you could pick up. I'd like to learn Cherokee because that's from around here, even some French, but I have a little French, but not enough. So it almost looks like they're doing a Buddhist type of a theme. They're including the insects are part of us. The ants are part of us. Oh, is it really?
Yeah, it's South Africa.
Ah, okay. Which is where we all came from originally anyway, so it makes sense. This is what we have to speak at our church, where I get translations into this, because that's also from Africa. Yeah. So that's a big one. Hello. Now there is a lot from the Philippines I've noticed, and I don't know if that's because it's like close to the U.S. or connected to the U.S., but there's a ton of counselors, educators, and social workers from the Philippines. And they speak English. So these two countries have a lot of English speakers. India has 600 million. The Philippines is almost all English speaking for international social workers. Russia, not so much. So those are the things you could do, the topics in international social work: diversity, social protection, social development, mental health, and then social work, education, and racism. Anybody know where the UN is? Because I actually don't. The United Nations. I feel like it's somewhere in Europe, but I could be wrong. Or Geneva. There you go. It's in Geneva. So it looks like it was a virtual conference, and they were all zooming into it from like New York, Geneva, Germany, Nepal, Japan, and Iraq. Hello. And then some of their topics are like social work during COVID-19 and sharing our lived experiences about Ubuntu. Is that how you pronounce it? It means I am because we are. It's like focusing on the interconnectedness of the globe and the world. That was interesting. So those are all the countries that they zoomed in from that showed where they were working from. Hello, welcome. Then these are some of the posters. So if you wanted to present here, you guys could. Like if you ever apply to conferences to present on like, one of them was how COVID-19 has affected us as students. That's like a big presentation students are giving because you all have a different experience with it. And you could present internationally. I guess it made it to like Good Morning America. So that's what they're trying to show off here. So international social workers are, especially with COVID-19, it's gotten big. Social work in general has gotten big because it's affected all of our mental health and like struggles with school. Okay, so I didn't know they were on like Twitter and Instagram, but you know, if you're busy texting, take a break to get on Twitter, Instagram, and look them up. So yeah, that's a good theme to go with. And for international social work in your paper coming up next week, IFSW uses that word Ubuntu. It means I am because we are. So that interconnectedness of all of us started in Africa, where we're all from. So that's the overall theme, and then I'll get into the details of that paper. So I guess it was in March, and we must have, they probably have the conference every March. So if you wanted to present next March, you could. So going to their website, if videos are helpful, getting into the International Federation of Social Work, and then our local National Association of Social Work. Ohio also has one, and there's lots from all over. Then finding a job, I always like to look up salaries to see how much they pay, like even in Ohio, New York, and California, and then see what like Mexico and Canada, which are international pay, if you find jobs there. So it does take some digging and searching, and then indicate if you would be willing to go work in one. The Peace Corps is another one. Has anybody ever heard of the Peace Corps? This is usually paid for after you go to college. They have the different things that you can do as a Peace Corps volunteer. So I thought this was a helpful one to show what they do. These are all over the world too. My dad did it in 1968 when they started in Samoan Islands by Hawaii.
Peace Corps is a life-defining leadership experience. Volunteers live, learn, and work with a community overseas for 27 months, providing grassroots assistance in 6 program areas.
I am one of more than 200,000 returned Peace Corps volunteers who has answered the call to serve. And it's an incredible feeling to be part of this vibrant program.
Since 1961, Peace Corps volunteers have improved the lives of millions of people around the world. Their work represents a legacy of public service that has remained true to Peace Corps' mission spanning over 5 decades.
So JFK started in
Peace Corps
1962.
promotes world peace and friendship by providing trained volunteers to countries that request assistance, promoting a better understanding of Americans, and sharing a global perspective here at home. Peace Corps places volunteers with the community where their skills and experience are most needed, based on host country requests for assistance.
Peace Corps service begins with training in the country in which volunteers are invited to serve. Volunteers study together and receive intensive training in the local language.
So there you go. Answers your question. Do you have to have the foreign language going in? A lot of times you don't. They'll train you in the language before you get there. So it's like an immersion experience.
They also receive technical training related to their job assignments and learn more about the country through cross-cultural training.
The training here was pretty intense. Language classes 4 or 5 hours a day, and we were living in villages during the training, so the training never really ended. Well, I mean, Peace Corps training did help a lot, and then being here at school, watching other teachers teach, how those teachers watch me teach and give pointers what to do, what not to do. Those things help.
Shafiq is mainly in teaching. He's also helping our staff teachers with the computer because most of us do not know how to use a computer.
Pre-service training, well, before you get to the sites, is about a 3-month-long process.
So Georgia is a country, even though it also sounds like the state of Georgia. You can go be a Peace Corps volunteer in Georgia, and that's where he is, not Atlanta, Georgia.
And you go through a lot of language training, the local language. You also go through safety and security training, medical training, things to look out for on both of those fronts.
With training, they teach you a lot of things, but none of it is like when you go out there and you first get in your community. That's really when they say the rubber meets the road.
Volunteers are assigned to work in the community in one of 6 program areas: education, youth and community development, health, agriculture, environment, and business, and information and communications technology.
I work in the primary school here. I teach grades 1 and 2. My main objectives are literacy and numeracy.
Well, the baking program was first started as a workshop. For the baking project, the kids participate by making the dough. They make the dough, and they make the bread, and they participate from start to finish. Like, a lot of these children are from some of the poorest areas in Ecuador. They don't really know about sharing or working in teams. So that was something that I try to implement in their daily lives.
I'm a health volunteer assigned to a health center. My job is education. I primarily have worked with people living with AIDS support groups.
I'm working with a non-governmental organization. We are trying to create sustainable projects and implement them in our community.
I'm working with coffee farmers. We're talking about how to market our coffee and how we can maximize our profits from the crops that we have.
So the goal of this fish project is to ensure better food security, a better source of protein through fish.
I do urban agricultural work. I work at the hospital farm, and we have a huge garden that we use to feed the patients that are in the infectious diseases ward.
Education is the largest area of need, and that's specifically with English as such a growing language. It's a field constantly looking for people.
So a lot of times you're teaching English too. You asked if you had to learn a different language. Yes, but they may be more interested in the fact that you know English and can teach English, which sounds kind of scary, like, oh, I can't teach English. Well, you already speak it. So that's usually like showing them pictures and words that match up to it and how to learn and speak English.
Regardless of what you are doing in Peace Corps, it always goes back to education.
I love the work that I do outside of my primary placement. The secondary project, I love. We started playing basketball, and I felt that a lot of kids had an interest. It's great. It's the students who might not listen so much in class always listen in the gym playing basketball, and that's translated into a better rapport in class.
Peace Corps specialists, volunteers, Peace Corps first hand with community members. We build personal relationships. We are in the homes, we are in the community centers, we are in the organizations. We are just amongst the people, making decisions with them, interacting with them on a daily basis.
So she's in the Dominican Republic. It's not very far from Florida. You could probably fly there in like a half an hour from Florida.
The health and safety of volunteers serving overseas is Peace Corps' highest priority. Volunteers receive the training, support, and information they need to stay healthy and safe. Volunteers have access to medical care and trained medical professionals.
One thing that was important to me was hearing the policies of Peace Corps about safety. They also did an extensive training about how to get around town, areas you can go into and areas that you shouldn't go into.
It's nice to have a medical officer come in and tell us, like, hey, this is what it's like here. These are some precautions to have, and it's nice to also have them on call 24/7.
I feel very safe in my community. Peace Corps was very good at preparing young women for the attention they were going to receive. The rules that Peace Corps has in place, I understand and put for a reason, that my safety and security is very important in Peace Corps.
So I guess they're also showing you're not going to be too far from your parents now, especially with like FaceTime and like emails and whatnot. In the past, you had to handwrite a letter. Like when I moved to Nicaragua, we had to handwrite stuff.
Most volunteers are able to stay in touch with friends, family, and fellow volunteers by phone, text message, internet, or mail. More than 90% of volunteers have a cell phone. Access to communication can vary greatly from site to site. However, in all cases, Peace Corps has systems in place to contact volunteers if there's an emergency in country or at home.
I have internet or electricity where I live, so I have to leave to do that. And it's quite easy for me to get out because there's road and a good bus system. So I can leave my community in the morning, I could go run errands in town, check the internet, and I could be back up into my community that afternoon.
That was mostly what we had to do when we lived in Nicaragua. You had to pay like an internet cafe to let you check your email, and then you'd write home. And that's when I first started using email in 1999.
There's no one typical Peace Corps location or experience. Accommodations vary greatly from a rural hut to an urban apartment. In all cases, housing must meet Peace Corps standards for safety and suitability. Volunteers receive an allowance that covers the cost of housing and other incentives.
So you get money, you could live in one of those, even apartments, and then sometimes there's the hut. but they have to make sure that you have like shelter and enough for food and water and
A
all
lot of
that.
the houses are made of wood. They have thatched roofs made of a plant found in the rainforest called truey. There's no power, no running water. I have to bathe in the creek every morning.
My apartment is nothing like I expected a Peace Corps living situation to be. I live in a post-Soviet block-style apartment. I have 2 rooms and have most of the amenities that I had in America.
Welcome to the Tower meeting. I'm a Peace Corps volunteer. This is my kitchen area right here. I study here, read here.
To be eligible to serve in Peace Corps, you must be at least 18 years old and a U.S. citizen. Here are a few of the qualities that make for a successful volunteer.
A successful volunteer is somebody who adapts quickly to their environment, but who also pays attention, because it's not what you want for your community, it's what your community wants for themselves. It's up to you to really kind of work towards that.
The best volunteer is the flexible volunteer. Being open and interested and having a passion to learn more is understanding that sometimes their tradition is going to throw you for complete loop, but being able to grasp that and have fun with it and make it part of who you are, while still staying American, is really going to make you the best possible one.
You're coming into a place where you're going to have a lot of new experiences. It's very different from home. So you need to be willing to try new things, try new foods, talk to people who may be very different from yourself. If you
I think the food's my favorite part because you get to try a lot of like new and different stuff when you travel to these countries.
go into it willing to do that and really just open your heart and open your mind, it's going to be a much better experience.
Understanding is the key to peace. I believe just taking that time out to understand who a person is and what that person was or what that person wants to become. And once you make that exchange, you're building personal relationships. That's how you begin to foster peace, is by understanding.
Oh yeah, they help pay student loans. That's one of their benefits.
One of the things about Peace Corps is I get paid basically the same as any of the teachers here. It's humbling in some ways because you see other people working with the same amount of money and oftentimes with more burdens than you have. It's part of the experience.
Many volunteers say they got much more out of their experience than they gave. Some of the tangible benefits of Peace Corps service include language and technical training, a monthly stipend to cover housing and living expenses, full dental and medical care, and vacation time. Plus, travel to and from your country of service is paid for.
Additionally, deferment or partial cancellation is possible for some student loans. After completing service, volunteers receive approximately $7,400 in transition funds. Returned volunteers have access to job placement services and the Career Center.
If you're considering graduate school and Peace Corps service, you can do both together through the Masters International Program. Or complete Peace Corps service, then use the lifetime eligibility for graduate degree benefits, like reduced tuition, assistantships, and stipends, all available through the Paul D. Coverdell Fellows Program.
For Masters International, I applied to my grad school and I started the application process for Peace Corps. I needed to give back to the world, to the country I grew up in, to the community that I call home, and just to the world in general. Peace Corps was one way to do that on a global scale.
Being a Peace Corps volunteer is definitely a significant life accomplishment, and I'm so glad that I did it. I always liked public health, and just being able to go to Guyana and work in the Ministry of Health was so amazing. It just really solidified what I wanted to do.
My Peace Corps experience really helped enhance my interest in agriculture and led me towards positioning vacancies at the U.S. Department of Agriculture. I used the non-competitive eligibility benefit when I applied for my federal position. And you can bring that worldview perspective to your job. I feel like it helps make me more effective at what I do because I've got a broader perspective than most, and I owe that to Peace Corps.
Peace Corps volunteers are a valuable resource for our youth because they bring to our organization shared values, they have cultural sensibilities, they work in developing countries, and they have language skills which are useful to us. Former Peace Corps volunteers are the single best resource in talent for IRB.
Peace Corps offers a unique experience to make a difference around the world and bring the benefits of that experience back home. The personal and professional rewards of Peace Corps service last a lifetime.
It's been an incredible experience. Being able to realize that, yes, I can completely integrate into a new culture.
I want to give back to my community. I want to experience a different culture. And I want to see if I have what it takes to make it somewhere different and be appreciative of what we have in the United States.
I would not trade my experience here. It's everything that I wanted it to be and hoped it would be.
So after the 2 years of serving the Peace Corps, I feel like I have run. But looking back and seeing what I have given, I can honestly say that I've been kind.
Live, learn, overseas. Be a volunteer. Take the next step and explore how the Peace Corps can change your future. Speak with your local recruiter. Visit peacecorps.gov.
So they also have a local version of this. If you're looking for jobs that have in your hometown, instead of Peace Corps, they call it the AmeriCorps. Maybe some of you guys have heard of that before. That was more started 30 years after the Peace Corps, and it was like the Clinton administration. It said eligibility is if you're a U.S. citizen and if you're 18. That's what it says. Now, I would imagine it does get competitive, and they want to see that you finished some school, you've got good grades. So, like, the higher the GPA, the better, things like that. But they do say, yes, everyone's eligible. Especially also here, like local AmeriCorps, these are usually the same 1.5 to 2.5 year positions. And these also often provide food, housing, shelter, and like take care of your graduate school and whatnot. So AmeriCorps is local. They have their own description of the program. This would be work that a lot of us do with the NASW, so National Association of Social Workers. I worked alongside of a lot of AmeriCorps volunteer. This is if you don't want to go overseas, and the same thing, and probably the same benefits.
We normally start in the dark.
Another commercial.
Hello guys, my name is Aisha, and I'm going to tell you the top 10 reasons why you should join the AmeriCorps Vista program. Number 1 is to serve. The AmeriCorps Vista program is a national service program with one mission, and that mission is to fight poverty. Now, it allows individuals with interest in serving their community and volunteering to serve for 1 year with a nonprofit. So if you're interested in serving your community or volunteering full-time, then consider joining the AmeriCorps Vista program. Number 2.
I thought that was actually from AmeriCorps, but this is a program that is doing the same things that you just saw in the Peace Corps video. And, okay, this is actually sponsored by AmeriCorps. This is a video that might be kind of the details. So if you're looking for something to pay for graduate school, these programs do.
Volunteer in service to America.
I am a volunteer in service to America.
A Vista.
I am a Vista because it's wrong to tolerate poverty in such a wealthy world.
Right now, as a proud part of AmeriCorps, more than 5,000 dedicated Vistas are helping community organizations.
And this one might even be quick. This
So
is
you
just
have
2
questions
minutes.
about AmeriCorps? Well, you've come to the right place, because we're here to help. First off, let's clear up one thing right away. You might be wondering how to say or spell AmeriCorps. Sometimes people pronounce it P, but don't make that same mistake. AmeriCorps is alive and well, just spelled with a silent P. So think of Apple Corps, or Corps of Years. Now that we have that clear, what exactly is AmeriCorps anyways? AmeriCorps is simply Americans of all ages and backgrounds dedicating their time and skills to get things done. There we go. So how does AmeriCorps get things done? More than 80,000 Americans across the country join AmeriCorps each year, and all of them are tackling different problems in different ways. For example, AmeriCorps members help families attain affordable homes. They mentor students so that they stay in school. Perhaps there's a tornado, a flood, a forest fire, or a hurricane. AmeriCorps members also help communities recover from disasters. There's so many more things that AmeriCorps members do, but if we said it all, we'd be here all day. Why do we call them members, you ask? AmeriCorps members spend anywhere from 3 months to a year dedicating their time and skills to serve. They can volunteer with nonprofits, schools, public agencies, and community and faith-based organizations. And in case you were wondering, there are a few perks AmeriCorps members get, including money to pay for college, student loan deferment, training, living allowance, health benefits, and job opportunities for leading employers. Not too bad, right? All right. What's the purpose of AmeriCorps? Like the military or the Peace Corps, AmeriCorps is a way to serve your country. AmeriCorps members make Americans safer, stronger, and healthier, and they strengthen our communities. But above all, AmeriCorps members get things done. That's it. That's what AmeriCorps is. Learn more about AmeriCorps at AmeriCorps.gov.
So AmeriCorps is local, the Peace Corps is international. Both of them help pay for like healthcare, your student loans. Some folks may use this to do their social work internship, so you can have like a paid internship, which is also helpful. So that kind of breaks down the difference between the two. In both of them, you'll be fighting social injustice or the effects of social injustice, which finishes up our chapter. So like they're fighting oppression that could happen from discrimination, fighting dehumanization and victimization. Here's these definitions. So oppression is resulting from the imbalance of power between the major population and groups with minority status. Oppression denies minority groups access to opportunities and resources and limits their rightful participation in society. Dehumanization is defined as like the regarding others with cold detachment, showing indifference to human misery. Dehumanization obscures the inherent worth and dignity of personhood. And then victimization, which is ascribing blame and victim status, confers perceptions of helplessness, powerlessness, and alienation. So as social workers and psychology majors and educators, like there's this mandate for social justice. So you ensure access to all resources. That's why they did a lot of food and like, sometimes it's like, well, why is growing food connected to social work or psychology or mental health in general? There's a lot of research studies that show if you don't have enough food, your mental health suffers. Like if there's a food desert, it can be a challenge. So also expanding options for disadvantaged populations and respecting cultural diversity. So finishing up this chapter, we as helping professions advocate for improved social conditions, we promote social justice and encourage participation in the democratic process. So yeah, you'll see videos both from the AmeriCorps and the Peace Corps, which again, AmeriCorps is probably something you can do while you're in college too. I just don't know how many hours they require per week. Some people do it and transition from undergrad to graduate school because they pay for graduate school. They help pay for your student loans. Some people do the Peace Corps in between undergraduate and graduate schools. That gives you an international experience. They pay for your everything, food and housing and plane trips back and forth to the different countries, and it's helpful.
Pay for graduate school?
Undergrad. So if you take out student loans, what they said is they give you like that stipend to pay off your student loans. So I don't know how much student loan money you can take out in undergrad. I guess it's like $5,000 or $6,000 your freshman year, and then like $7,000 or $8,000 your sophomore year, maybe $8,000 or $9,000 junior year, and about $10,000 or $12,000 your senior year. I can't remember what it was, but you can come out with $40,000 in debt. So that's why they do stipendize that. Give you health care. That was a big one. Healthcare may not be as big. In like 2010, we had to have a full-time job to get healthcare. So before the Affordable Care Act in 2011, it was harder. Now it's a little bit easier to get healthcare. So There were a couple of the international issues I also wanted to touch on. One of them is about the human trafficking. So there's a Blue campaign, tools that teach what is human trafficking and what it looks like. There's a lot more education and outreach about this nowadays. So here's just a quick first one, and then I'll show you there's a real life movie that's coming out soon from an FBI agent who helped personally fight human trafficking and like the way that they're kind of trafficking kids and adults all over the world. So the cartoon's kind of showing that this dude's promising a kid who wants to be a pro soccer player, he could help him do it. Just come with me. We'll go do it overseas. Give me your passport. And then he acts like he's going to get him started. And he's like, oh, by the way, you owe me for the plane ticket. You owe me for like food and housing. Here's how you'll pay it off. So I guess that's a way to explain it without using language. Like they don't even use the English language. And it is a bigger thing than you would think. Like it's kind of hidden from our plain sight. Apparently, the United States in the Midwest were one of the largest areas of human trafficking. So because we're centrally located in the United States, like Ohio, very close to Canada, so international border, and also I-75 goes straight down to Florida. And then there's a highway that goes, 70 clears all the way to California and then back over to like Washington, D.C. Ohio is a very big human trafficking area. I like some of these cartoons, but the video I wanted to show is a little bit more frightening, but it's truth and it's kind of like kind of scary. But I'll show this one first, one more cartoon one that they're trying to get the word out to kids so that there isn't the trafficking, slavery.
Slavery is not a thing of the past. In fact, around the world, due to sex and labor trafficking, it's believed that more people are held in slavery today than ever before in history. This is Elena. She's 14 years old, and she's been exploited for sex as a cheap. She was preyed upon by callous, opportunistic men who are masterful at playing off of Elena's feelings and desires, and she lacked the knowledge and support she needed to protect herself. Human trafficking is an insidious and costly crime that is too often seen as an international problem. In fact, it happens every day right here in our own community, destroying lives and costing local governments millions as they attempt to find answers. Yet there has been very little effort to educate, train, and empower local institutions and citizens to collaborate with experts to eradicate this problem. Let's see what could happen to Elena if she has a different kind of support. Imagine a venue through which Elena can learn about and share knowledge about the manipulative and coercive techniques of traffickers, feel confident in protecting herself and others, and be a part of a real-world solution contributing to the health of her community and peers, so that through knowledge, Elena and others can become unfit to be enslaved. With its historical roots connected to former slaves Frederick Douglass and Booker T. Washington, the Frederick Douglass Family Initiative seeks to stop the plague of human trafficking permanently. One student, one family, one school district at a time. Like other successful prevention programs, like anti-smoking and drug driver campaigns, FDFI's Trafficking-Free Community is a pilot project that aims to reduce the vulnerability of children to sex and labor exploitation through a combination of classroom curricula, educator training, and the coordination of community resources. This innovative and unique program provides short-term and long-term solutions through early intervention and prevention, empowers administrators and educators to responsibly identify and respond to victims, strengthens community relationships between educators and anti-trafficking stakeholders, and gathers and presents real data of the effectiveness of the program.
So have any of you guys heard of human trafficking, sex trafficking, or even child trafficking? Okay. So there's a big campaign the past several years to get rid of it, and it's getting bigger because it's been exposed.
Now that Elena knows, rather than becoming a victim, she becomes a powerful agent of change through collaborative service projects in her own community. We are already reaching thousands of students in hundreds of schools. With your help, we can reach many more. By financially supporting FDFI, you can support an organization with record and solid experience, delivering carefully designed training and curriculum in a responsible, sensitive way, and be a part of creating positive, lasting change in our communities by ending human trafficking. Frederick Douglass said, "It is easier to build strong children than to repair broken men." Just like all of our young girls and boys, Elena's future can take many different paths. Let's work together to help our young people fulfill their brightest future.
So what all have you guys heard about human trafficking anyway? I'm just curious, because that's a big international issue and something international social workers deal with. Yeah, there's a few countries where it's really bad, and that's something that's been coming to light in the past several years. Haiti, for some reason, really has a lot of issues. Like Haiti just had that huge earthquake. 10 or 12 years ago, they had another huge earthquake, and for whatever reason, maybe to like get the kids out, there's been a lot of major agencies in the United States that have been fighting it and busting it with the the human trafficking campaign, because the definition is kind of hard and important to get down. So I'm glad to see that there's more of these videos that are coming out. Some of them are a little bit older, but so
over
there's
20.9 million men, women, and children are victims of human trafficking. But do you know what human trafficking actually is? In a small sleepy town, people are dreaming. But not everyone's dreams will come true. Human traffickers prey on people's dreams and lure them away for their own benefit. How do they do this? Human trafficking doesn't happen all of a sudden. It's a process. First, traffickers act. This includes recruiting victims, transporting them to the place where they'll be exploited, hiding them from.
So human trafficking, they're saying, doesn't happen overnight either. I've heard of some situations where, like, if you drive a car, some people will put like either like Crisco or butter or oil on your windshield wipers, and then like tie ribbon onto your windshield wipers. So then when you drive and you know that you're driving, you like, what's that ribbon doing on there? And then you stop, or you like try to wipe it off, and then it smears your windshield wiper and you have to stop. And that's one, that's like, there's several different techniques that they'll use. I don't know if any of you guys have cars and have to deal with a broken down car, but usually you have to stop and call AAA or try to get help, but you're vulnerable for a moment. You know what I mean? Like, so that's one of the things. But this, and I wanted to wait till you were all back to show this video and the last one, because the human trafficking thing is a big piece in the international social work realm.
Authorities and receiving victims from other traffickers. So why don't the victims run away or say no? Because traffickers use different means. This includes threatening or forcing victims to do what they want, abducting or deceiving the victims, and abusing power. Sometimes traffickers promise small payments or benefits to get the victim to cooperate. And why are the traffickers doing this? The purpose of trafficking is exploitation. Traffickers take advantage of victims for their own profit or benefit. This is human trafficking. This man's neighbor tells him that he has a great job for him on a very safe construction site and that he'll be paid a lot of money. With more money, he can make his dreams come true.
So this dude might be 18 or something like that, is usually kind of the victim at first, 18, 19, and
He
20.
agrees to take the job. A few days later, the neighbor's friend picks him up and they drive to the construction site. It's a very long way from his home. This man is put to work immediately without any training or protective equipment, without enough to eat or drink, and with very few breaks. After many months, he's only been paid a fraction of what he was promised. He knows he's been tricked, but he doesn't have enough money to get home. This man is a victim of human trafficking. He was recruited by his neighbor and tricked into thinking he was going to work at a safe construction site for fair pay. Instead, he was forced to work long hours in unsafe conditions for almost no money, while others benefited from his exploitation. One day, while looking for jobs online, this woman comes across an opportunity to work in a restaurant in a big city. Her application is successful, and her new employer arranges for her travel there. She is met at the airport and driven to a part of the city that looks nothing as she expected. The car pulls up to a building. The door is shut and locked behind her. She is made to perform sex acts against her will. She is trapped. This woman is a victim of human trafficking. She was transported by a trafficker from the airport to the location of the job. When she arrived at the location and realized it was not the restaurant job she was expecting, the traffickers used force to keep her there. She was then exploited for forced sex work. This 14-year-old boy on school break is approached on the street by a woman who looks trustworthy. She tells him that she needs workers at her factory, and she promises him lots of money. He brings her to meet his parents. They are so happy for him. He'll now be able to save money for school. The woman drives him to the next town. They pull up to an old building. There is someone waiting for him. As he is led inside, the nice lady drives off. The factory isn't anything like she described. There are lots of people working, including many children. He works all day, and after just a few hours of sleep, he starts again. He is sad. This isn't what he expected. He misses his family. After weeks, he still hasn't received any salary or been allowed to contact them. He is trapped. This boy is a victim of human trafficking. He was tricked by the woman who recruited him on the street. He was then received by a trafficker when he arrived at the factory and exploited by being forced to sew clothing. For anyone under the age of 18, only the act and purpose matter for it to legally be a case of human trafficking. Understanding that human trafficking doesn't happen all at once, but instead is a process of act, means, and purpose, helps us better identify victims and trafficking trends. People everywhere are dreaming and looking for opportunities to make those dreams come true. Human trafficking is happening all around us. Will you recognize it when you see it? To learn more, visit iomx.org.
So I wanted to wait to show this video and the last 2-minute video about trafficking. I wanted you all in here because this one is a big movie that is coming out that was well made. And this is about a FBI worker who tells all, and it's called The Sound of Freedom. And this is kind of a scary video. Might make you want to cry. This is true. This is going on now. This should be out sometime next year. Yeah, this is an FBI agent who kind of like told his story, and they've now made a film of it that's supposed to come out. They said 2022, so I'm hoping it's ASAP. He's still an FBI agent, so like they do interviews with him all the time.
I don't think I can do this job. Then, as soon as I lay down, all these kids' faces. How long have you been doing this? 12 years. How do you do it? It is the fastest growing international crime network that the world has ever seen. It's already passed the illegal arms trade, and soon it's going to pass the drug trade.
Mateo, tú rescató niños, ¿verdad? Quizás puedes ayudarme a encontrar a mi hermana.
Imagine walking into a room right now, seeing an empty bed. Always help.
For Homeland Security, you know we can't go off rescuing kids in Colombia.
This job tears you to pieces. That's just my only chance to put those pieces back together. I'm talking about extracting a 11-year-old girl from an army of rebels. Not just her. I'm talking about rescuing hundreds of kids. She could be locked down the road, or she could be in Moscow, Bangkok, LA. Over 2 million children a year. They're being sucked into the deepest recesses of hell. We do nothing. Someday it's gonna reach the likes of you. And if this was your daughter?
So that video is kind of a big deal because it's come up in the past. We only had like stories and like those cartoons. Well, here he is being interviewed actually. So that was just a few years ago when they started making it, and it's a low budget film. As a lot of times Hollywood doesn't put forth money to make films like this. This is one of the like documentary truth telling films that they probably don't want to get out there. So usually in Hollywood you'll see other stuff, which
Why don't they want to get out there? It's just like when they found like all those kids, I think it was in Ohio, they didn't make it a big deal on the news or anything.
Right.
Everybody was like, that's weird. Like, that's really something.
Yeah, you don't hear about it. And so like that's partly why as we start getting into international social work, I want to put these films out there because it's happening everywhere. And they were saying, you guys remember the ship that got caught last year in the middle of the Suez Canal, whatever? It was called like the Ever Given, and they had all of our goods from China. It got kind of stuck. Supposedly they found kids on that, if I can spell it right. And it got stuck in like March, so I guess it was just last school year, but it was this year. This big thing got stuck and blocked the whole Suez Canal. And in some of these containers, they found several children. So that's kind of what's exposed a bit of the human trafficking on an international level. Like you said, it happens in Ohio, but this is how it blocked. This is one of the only trade routes that between us and China to buy, you guys ever bought anything from China? Sometimes you don't know, but if you look on the back, supposedly that's where a lot of our stuff is made, oftentimes made by folks in China. So like a lot of times it's kids too, as they have different laws and rules and regulations. So, and this is why, again, looking at the global perspective and why this is a big deal. Everything we buy, so everything you consume, all the stuff you're looking at on your phone or texting back and forth to your friends or whatever it may be, we're consumers of things. So we buy things. I don't even know what the new iPhone is. What's the new one that just came out? Is it? Oh, Dr. Allen. So mine broke here. Actually, the car ran over this one, so I had to get a new one. It was like $50 because of the plan. So I got this. It was probably cheap because it was made in a country where they don't pay the workers very well. Oh, Dr. Allen might have a question. So a lot of those, when they're made, are made over here in China. So when this got blocked up, this is like a 10-day route to get stuff to Europe and then the United States. When it's blocked off, you got to go all the way around, twice as long to get goods. And that's why it became national news, because you saw prices go up, you saw the food shortages again, even toilet paper shortages. I noticed Sam's this week on Monday said take 1 toilet paper and 1 paper towel. So I guess we're getting back to that, if you guys remember that. But when they unloaded this ship to get it unstuck, because it looked like this, if I searched it properly, they found kids. So that's a lot. I think each one of these is like the size of our classroom. So those things are huge. They look tiny on the ship, but they're the size of this room almost. They're like the things you see on a semi. So however big a semi, maybe it's half of this, but it's huge. And they found kids in there. So that's kind of gotten the story out. Again, social workers help afterwards with the trauma the kids experience, help. I don't know what kind of social workers you guys want to be, or psychologists or educators or practitioners, but this is one of the ways, like international trade has really affected us, and international social workers help in that way. And we'll get into it more. I know we're at the end of the period here. So before then, did anybody have questions on this stuff? Because it's pretty heavy stuff, it's pretty thick. It's crazy that it happens, you know what I mean? It's like, what? Because we're kind of, we go back to our place, crash at night, watch whatever our Netflix is, and then or something, Hulu, and then get a breakfast, well fed, and do it all over again, do some school, do our job, and then go to sleep with a warm house and a full belly. So it's sometimes we don't think about this stuff, you know what I mean? It's easy to watch other things or like things that bring us joy, because this would probably be the opposite. Like I said, that last The Sound of Freedom movie kind of makes you want to cry a little bit. It's like, damn, that's crazy that goes on, and so the cool part is being in the helping profession, helping with that, educating on that and things of that nature. So that's one of the international jobs. Here's what it looked like. So yeah, it blocked off the whole canal because it's it turned sideways. I guess it was really windy that day, so the ship went like this, and it got stuck for like 12 days. So if you ordered something on Amazon that was coming from China, they're like, yeah, we'll have it to you here in 12 days. And it was stuck for 12 days. It probably took like 24 days. And now we're seeing shortages in like delivery, next day delivery stuff. So any questions? We have Adriel Mitchell said, I heard there is a very bad human trafficking issue in Ohio. So yes, Ohio is bad because we're so close to Canada. I think it's like 3 hours to get to Windsor, Canada, the border of Canada, to get out of our country.
It was even, well, sorry to cut you off, but what was it, I think it was last year or the year before, how everybody would be like, watch out for white names.
Yeah.
Like everybody was scared. I'm like,
Right. Right. So some of them are like, I remember that because they were talking about.
Like it was real. I think it was the year before. Like it was just so much stuff going on. Like people, even in Dayton, where I'm from, was like keep seeing this van ride by on their green, and like everybody would put it on Facebook. I'm like, that's crazy. If people.
Well, this one's frightening. Is they show them going into this, and they shut the door, and the lady's screaming. Have you seen this? It's crazy. She's screaming her head off and you can't hear her.
What? That's the power of everything. The power, all this shit in here. Extra that's it. It's like this, like all this. I didn't even see that. I don't even know how all this is. It should look like a bomb or some shit. That's like the door. I think this unlocked the door. I want to close down this and see. Yeah, I'm gonna open it. I just want to see. I want so we can see over here. Come on, Lisa. Let her do it. She ain't scared of her though. She from Texas with me. Nah, hold on. Nah. Say something. Scream. Open the door, tell her scream. You can hear a little bit, but barely. She said scream. Close and scream. Do it again. Oh, hell no. You can't even hear it. Hell no. You can't even hear it.
So that's a van they busted, like, or found.
Oh, yeah.
I guess the chair you could be strapped into. Yeah.
Okay, so I live in Columbus, Ohio.
Uh-huh.
Also Cleveland Ave, and the gas station that I live next to, Sunoco, they do sex trafficking over there. And it always gets raided, and they still have not shut that gas station.
Really? That's just, again, like why, like we don't have stories, we don't have news, so like it's almost like up to us to keep educating and talking about it and stopping it, because the one with the windshield wipers, I never would have thought of, if you know what I mean. Like somebody puts like maybe it's a flyer, and then they put like Crisco on your windshield wipers and you wipe it and it smears, so you're stopped. So we can talk about it more next class. I know we're over time almost, but these are some of the International Federation of Social Work issues that social workers help with and deal with, and this is probably one of the most pertinent now. Food security's second most pertinent, because obviously food keeps us alive. If we don't have enough food, there's no humans alive to work with. So like food and shelter and like safe places to live. So some topics to go into the next paper due October 1st or whatever. And oh yeah, chapter 7's for next week, but we're kind of getting into some of the diversity stuff next. Dang, chapter 7 really almost means we're like halfway through for real, because there's only 14 chapters. So yeah, I guess that's right. By October 1st, that means August, September, first week of October, and then the second half is more like last 3 weeks of October, a few weeks in November. I think they give us a huge break in Thanksgiving, don't they? No? I thought it was a whole week. I could be wrong.
That's a huge break.
Right.
Well, in the past, we only got Thursday and Friday off. Yeah. So the fact that now you have like 10 days, it's like, especially if you only have Tuesday, Thursday class. You're going to have Friday, Saturday, Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, and maybe even Monday off again. In the past, we had like sometimes Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, and a lot of times it was just Thursday and Friday. When you work, it's like Thursday and Friday. Some agencies don't give you Friday. You got to take a paid time off day to get Black Friday off to go shopping if you like shopping. But so, any questions? Because I'm done, but I'll stick around for questions. How do these things know when you put them in your ear? Yeah.
I have a quick question. When I was looking at the prescription for our paper, are you going to post links for the thing that we use and what we have right?
The IFSW?
Yeah.
I could send it out. Those are some of the videos I pulled up today. It's ifsw.org, I believe, but the International Federation of Social Work. And they have a ton of videos if you're bigger on, I forget what it is ifsw.org, so I can try to get that out. Because that'll give you, the definition, all that. You've already got the NASW and then like local stuff. So, yeah. What's that? I can't hear you. I'm sorry. Maybe. Oh, the Peace Corps. Yeah. That's pretty big. I've heard in the past it had been competitive. I know my dad did it, and he literally lived on a Samoan island for 2 years. He said he had to spear fish for dinner and stuff. So not all of them are like that. You saw the video. They're a little bit, but he wanted to like do everything that the locals did, and he taught English and economics. But he wore like a little kilt thing, and he'd go out and he'd like kill a fish and then cook it for dinner. And I laugh about it, but like that's truly, like before we had modern agriculture, that was our food, like hunting and gathering. And so it's funny to think of my dad, as he did end up doing like real estate zoning for his work, and so he would wear like a tie sometimes. But it's funny to think of him like wearing a kilt and spearing a fish, just because I never got to see him do that. So. But I think it would be awesome. I lived in Nicaragua for 6 or 7 months, and I helped build latrines and water filtration systems, and I loved it. I learned Nicaraguan Spanish. I ate their food. I became vegetarian there. I just started eating beans and rice all the time. I took a bus down there, so I love that you don't have to fly. And if you do fly, it's only like a few hours. It's close. So anyway. Closer than California almost. But that's all I've got. I'll stay for questions though. Oh, remember to do your yoga and stretches. Oh, the older you get, the harder it is. Remember to do your self-care. That's it. But for real, anybody know how these when you're in your ear, it like makes that noise? Is there like, is that what it is?
Yeah.
Like, is there like a sun? Does that know the sun? Like
so is it open? Can you hear it? You hear it connecting?
Yeah, it goes.
And then you can see on your phone.
Oh, okay. Okay. I thought it was kind of cool.
Okay.
All right, you too.